I don't talk about this night much anymore. Not because I'm scared, but because people always say the same thing. You were just a kid. It was Halloween, probably some prank. But I wasn't that young. I was 16 in 1997. And what happened on Berry Road that night? It wasn't a prank. I grew up in Waldorf, Maryland, just off Route 5, not far from where it splits into Mattawoman Beantown. Back then, Waldorf was quieter, more woods than stores. No mall yet, just a few strip plazas, some scattered neighborhoods, and long stretches of road that felt like you were driving through nowhere. That Halloween, my buddy Keith and I decided we were too old to trick or treat, but not too old to stir up a little mischief. We borrowed his older brother's old Camry and planned to hit some parties, maybe egg a house or two. Just dumb teenage stuff. Around 10 p.m., we were cruising down Berry Road, heading west, blasting Rob Zombie, windows down, cold air biting through our flannel shirts. The road was empty, no traffic, no houses for a good stretch. And that's when we saw her. A girl, maybe 10 or 11, standing alone on the shoulder. She had this old-fashioned white dress on, the kind that looked like it came from some dusty trunk in a thrift store. Her hair was matted, long and black, almost covering her face. At first we thought it was just some kid playing a Halloween prank, but then she stepped into the road. Keith slammed on the brakes so hard we both jolted forward. The car stopped maybe 10 feet from her. She didn't flinch, didn't even look at us. Keith leaned out the window and shouted, "Hey, you all right? Where are your parents?" No answer, just stillness. It's hard to explain, but even the wind seemed to die. The trees on either side of the road stopped rustling. Everything just went quiet. She turned her head slowly and looked right at us. And listen, I swear to God, her eyes were solid black, no whites, no irises, like two holes in her skull. Keith whispered, "What the hell?" Then she started walking toward the car. We both panicked. Keith hit the gas and we peeled off. I looked back just once, and I swear, I saw her smile. We didn't talk for a bit, just drove in silence, trying to shake it off. We figured we'd maybe stop by the Safeway parking lot to calm down. That's where some kids usually park to hang out. When we pulled in, a couple of guys we knew from school were sitting on the curb, passing around a bottle of Mad Dog. We told them what we saw, laughing nervously as if we were trying to make it funny. They just shrugged. One of them, this dude Marcus, goes, "Y'all saw the Berry Road girl, you ain't the first." "What do you mean?" I asked. He told us this story. Apparently back in the 70s, a little girl got hit by a drunk driver on Berry Road. Halloween night, she was wearing a white costume, maybe a ghost or an angel. They say the guy who hit her never stopped, just left her there. A week later, he drove his car straight into a tree on the same stretch of road. No skid marks, like he didn't even try to turn. They found a white shoe in his back seat. A child's shoe. Keith and I looked at each other, both pale. We tried to play it cool, but we left after a few minutes. The party didn't sound fun anymore. I wish that was the end of the story, but it's not. Later that night, around 1:30 a.m., Keith dropped me off. I lived in a split-level house near Bennsville Road, and when I walked up the steps to our front door, I noticed something odd. The porch light was off. My parents always left it on when I was out late. I figured maybe the bulb blew. But as I reached for the knob, I saw something. On the welcome mat was a single white shoe, child size, old, muddy. The laces were soaked and knotted tight, like someone had been dragging it through the woods. I didn't bring it in. I didn't touch it. I just stared at it. Then the porch light flicked on by itself. Click. I turned to look at the window next to the door. My reflection stared back at me, and standing behind it, in the glass, was the girl. White dress, wet hair, black eyes, no expression. I turned around. No one there. Just the empty lawn and the quiet street. But when I turned back to the window, the reflection was gone. So was the shoe. I told my parents the next morning. They laughed, said I must have imagined it. Too much candy, my mom joked. But that whole week, every night around 1:30 a.m., the porch light would flicker. I moved out of Waldorf in 2005. Keith passed away in a motorcycle crash in 2013. Berry Road has more traffic now, more lights, more neighborhoods, but I still avoid it, especially on Halloween. And here's the twist. Last October, I was visiting my folks, and my 6-year-old niece was there playing in the front yard. She asked if I ever saw ghosts. I gave her a playful shrug. Then she said, "There's a girl who comes to the porch sometimes. She doesn't talk, but she watches." I asked what she looked like. She thought about it. White dress, dirty face, black eyes. Well, I didn't say anything. But later that night, I turned on the porch light and left the front door open, just a crack, just in case she was still out there, looking for the man who never stopped, and wondering why I did.
Like and subscribe for more eerie tales.